So I'm walking through my school halls, and I hear one word over and over and over again. That word is bro. And I use it myself, actually. I use it with my friends, my siblings, and sometimes even my mom. Sorry, Mom. So bro is a new groovy. I'm sure some of you, if not many of you, have used the word groovy at your time. So these two words are one way to point out the generational differences. In this room today, on a majority basis, of course, there are 4 generations. Firstly, the baby boomers, born after the Second World War, from the 40s to the 60s. Secondly, Gen X, 60s to the 80s. Thirdly, Gen Y, 80s to the 90s. And finally, my generation, Gen Z, the 2000s. Now, you may have heard, or maybe even said it yourselves, that Gen Z has it easy. All we do is eat, sleep, and nag. And what if I told you you're right, actually? We have not lived through wars. We have not struggled in fear and pain such as yourselves. So why is my generation going through so much? Why is ADHD, anxiety, depression, basically all mental illnesses becoming so common generation by generation? Well, because we are dealing with past generations' trauma. We are dealing with your unseen traumatic experiences. Now, based on the National Center of Mental Health, published in 2020, mental illnesses have always existed in such large numbers. For instance, depression harassed the ancient Greeks. Schizophrenia was common in the Tudor dynasty. And anxiety, well, anxiety has always run through our family's blood as a basic evolutionary maladaptation. What makes them so common these days is our youth's awareness. Having a mental illness used to be frowned upon. It was a sign of weakness and shame. Now we're all living in our beloved country, Lebanon, where the government has taken over our lives. Our money, stolen. Our future, threatened. And our anxiety level, skyrocketing. And yet, how many of us have gone to therapy because of this? I don't mean the idea of going, I mean the actual physical act of going to therapy. Now that's the hard part. But why? Why is it so difficult to go to therapy? Well, that brings me back to the concept of shame. This, my friends, is the problem. We are ashamed of therapy. Therapy is a taboo for us. About 2 years ago, my friend told me he would start going to therapy. You know what he told me? And I quote, Alma, I'm gonna start going to therapy. I shouldn't be telling you this because my parents told me not to. So please, shh, don't tell. And I did not. That same year, I started going to therapy myself. I got clinically diagnosed with anxiety, and my parents said the exact same thing. Alma, shh, don't tell. And yet again, I did not. Am I scared? Of course I am, but I mean, look at me now. Just a couple of months ago, I would literally be crying right now, but I'm speaking in front of hundreds of people with no accidents so far. The important thing is that therapy helped me get here. Let me be clear. It did not cure me, but it aided me through my healing process. It was like a cast for a broken leg. Now, my story is one of the mildest mental issues one can experience, but that does not deny the fact that others struggle with so much more. Everyone can benefit from therapy. For instance, based on news study published in 2016, 91% of parents have had at least one adverse childhood experience. So, whether we realize it or not, this is a generation of inner kids with unmet needs and self-harming coping mechanisms to help navigate life. And so is every following generation, with one difference, a radical shift in society. What shift, though? Well, going to therapy was for crazy people, especially in our culture. But now, today, therapy is essential for everyone to help cope with life. The danger of avoiding therapy pushes us into the vicious cycle. You start off as a child that have parents that have unmet needs. They raise you the way they were raised because that's what they know. That is what they believe is best. In response, a new generation, you, is reborn with more self-harming coping mechanisms coming in the form of anger, manipulation, violence, lack of communication, and so much more is reborn. And then when you grow up and have children of your own, you will repeat. Because that is what you know, that is what you believe is best, and that is how you were raised. And this cycle keeps on turning and turning basically infinitely. I'll say it again. Gen Z is struggling with past generations' trauma, and so is every following generation. The only difference now is that we are aware. I mean, look around. Mental illness is not a problem of the youth, but a problem of humanity. We Gen Z will accomplish what should have been done years ago. We will end this cycle. We know what's wrong. We don't see therapy as a taboo, and we do tell.